Well, joining us now is Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris, representing the government this morning. Hello, thanks for joining us on the programme. Lots to talk about with Northern Ireland. I know you made a statement yesterday, lunchtime, after PMQs, but first let's talk about nurses, should we? Going to give them any more money?
Well, they are getting some more money. I mean, the nurses' pay has been set by independent bodies for quite some time, and that award has been made and will be paid. And but I want to say, like everybody would like to, that nurses, doctors, everybody in the NHS went that extra mile during the time of the pandemic. Actually, they were the only group of people who got a pay rise in the public sector in the pandemic, a 3% pay rise. But the ask of the RCN, the Royal College of Nursing, at 17%, is a high ask. And I believe even Labour say they can't afford that.
Do nurses get paid enough as it is?
That's very difficult to judge. I mean, I was looking at the pay bands. It's not my area of expertise, as you'd understand.
I know, but you...
No, exactly right. I know it's a vocation. I suppose you could say politics is a vocation in many ways. And a nurse will start on £27,000 rising to, I think it's band 5, band 6 in the kind of low to mid £30,000. Is that enough? I mean, who put a value on something, on care like that?
Given that you mention politicians, do nurses deserve as much pay as politicians?
Well, some people wouldn't want to pay politicians anything, so I think nurses deserve...
Not my question.
I know, but I'm a politician, so I'm giving you... I think that's an unfair question, because we're in completely different places.
But nurses are using food banks, they're saying, and having to eat leftover food that patients have not eaten. Yeah,
I've heard those stories too, and they're troubling and actually very, very, very sad. But everything the government is doing across the whole of public sector pay, which is the only pay sector that we can influence, is aiming at the lower paid and the more vulnerable in society as well, when we offer more packages of support. So we understand that we need to help people a bit more.
Minister, the Education Secretary who was on yesterday said there's no point in nurses going on strike because there's no more money. Do you agree with that?
I think, well, I used to be Rail Minister. I used to engage with the rail unions a huge amount. And actually, I do think there's those discussions are actually generally valuable, because politicians will... unless we come from the background that of the department that in rail, I wasn't a railwayman, so I needed to understand better the asks, the conditions, the industry itself. So the engagement is definitely worth thing. But yeah, public sector finances are not in the best of shapes, and we're trying to stabilise our economy, make sure we drive it forward. So there are better times ahead. But 17% ask is a very big ask in public sector terms.
So just to clarify, is it a pointless strike because there's no more money for nurses?
I'd never say a strike is pointless, but this completely disrupts a huge host of public services that are very, very important to the whole nation, and dialogue is always the best way.
What about nurses in Northern Ireland? Who did they negotiate with? Yeah,
that's a really good question, because up until the 28th of October, that had been a negotiation with the Minister for Health there. Currently, there is no minister, and so I'm afraid some of those responsibilities now fall to me.
You keep kicking the can down the road. What's the latest situation?
It's a can that everybody else wants to kick down the road. Everybody says to me that elections in Northern Ireland at this point in time will just polarise society a great deal more and actually come up with no different results. And so the latest situation is yesterday in the House of Commons, I announced I was going to try and get some primary legislation through the House to delay the elections to the new year, to give time and space to two very important things: for the Northern Ireland parties to come together for more discussions about going back into the Assembly, so local people can make local choices on their constituents' behalf, but also so the UK government and the European Commission can have some time and space to talk and negotiate about the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is one of the key reasons why the unionist community in Northern Ireland and their representatives won't go into the executive.
Usefully, our Ireland correspondent, David Blevins, I was chatting to him last night, and he pointed out that on the 3rd of October you said you would push the button and call a Stormont election if devolution had not been restored by the 28th of October. Then on the 18th of October you told the Northern Ireland Affairs Committee you would call an election if devolution had not been restored by the 28th of October. Then on the 28th of October you said you were disappointed that devolution had not been restored and would be calling an election. Yesterday you said you wouldn't be calling an election.
Forgive me for being a politician that listens to people, but I did so on the 1 minute past midnight on the 28th of October, the responsibility, all ministers disappeared in Northern Ireland. So, and there's a very, very big budget black hole in Northern Ireland's finances, and all those responsibilities fell to me. I've been talking to all the political parties. I've been talking to businesses, to community groups, to ordinary folk on the streets, and no one wanted an election. And I've now done something that creates the time and space for conversations to take place so the executive hopefully can reform, and for conversations to take place between, as I say, the UK government and the European Commission to try and solve one of the biggest obstacles to that.
What's the big problem?
In which way? There's always problems. The big problem is the protocol for the unionist community, because it means a whole host of goods are not available in Northern Ireland that should be and are available in the rest of Great Britain. And that needs to be solved.
How do you do that?
By negotiations, with showing trust and respect with the European Commission.
As far as the European Commission is concerned, and indeed the European courts, EU law, your boss, Rishi Sunak, has said that, well, he's certainly talking tough when he was chatting to me in the summer, saying that EU law, most of it would be scrapped. It would have nothing to do with us by the end of his tenure, by the next election. Is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, I mean, so it's all EU laws would have been transposed onto our statute books. And the bits that are remaining, the references to European law, there's a bill going through the House of Commons at this very point in time to remove those.
So how do you see the 2023? How do you see this being fixed? You talk about the Northern Ireland Protocol. We know that the Northern Ireland Protocol is an incredibly vexatious subject that no one seems to be able to fix.
Yeah, I mean, it has been like that. And firstly, I should say that when it was written, I honestly don't think the people behind writing it thought it would have the ramifications that it had.
I thought it was oven ready this time.
No, the protocol... So politicians are legislators. Legislators are very good at creating law, but when the rubber hits the road, sometimes you get unforeseen consequences. So
Boris Johnson was wrong to say that it was an oven-ready deal.
No, it was an oven-ready deal. And the European Commission, who who co-authored the protocol with the UK government, everybody believed that this would work. It has not.
It's oven-ready, Minister. How can Northern Ireland be completely rudderless?
But Northern Ireland's not rudderless. In fact, that's really quite untrue. What Northern Ireland needs is local devolved government to work, which is set up 25 years ago by the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. The institutions do need to work, and when they are working, they really do help with peace and prosperity across Northern Ireland. My job is to try and get them back to work. The big obstacle is the Northern Ireland Protocol. Everybody, the European Commission, the UK government, Irish government, people in Northern Ireland, everybody realises that it's a problem that needs to be solved. It needs to be solved by an honest understanding and respect and trust on both sides. We have that. And now not having the elections in this calendar year has cleared some space for
When will
talks.
the elections be?
So I haven't moved them that far into the future. I've given myself 2 periods of 6 weeks.
Yeah. 3 months.
And so that essentially means the first 3 months of next year.
So there will be an election?
There will be an election, yeah.
In the first 3 months of next year? You sure?
Yeah.
Positive?
Yeah.
OK. Talk to me about Gavin Williamson.
Gavin Williamson's resigned.
I know he has. What did you think about what he had to say?
Well, he allegedly did something that is which is a very serious allegation, very, very serious allegations against him. So he was right to resign.
Should he have been given a job in the first place? I mean, I was looking at some reports overnight suggesting that the Prime Minister knew about these allegations and still gave him a job.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard or seen any evidence of that. And
what if it's true?
As you will recall, I was the government chief whip for 6 months.
Would you have used that language?
I would never have used language like that. That's not my style, but maybe that's why I'm not chief whip anymore. Because
So does a chief whip need to use that sort of language?
no, I think but a chief whip does need to be firm and. But you know, Gavin Williamson, the allegations against him are very serious, and he has resigned, and that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but should he have been given the job in the first place?
He was given a job. I don't know what people knew at what times, and so I'm not going to comment on speculation like that.
But what if the Prime Minister did know? Was it appropriate?
It's a lot of what ifs, isn't it?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think
because
it
the
is.
suggestion is that he did know.
Yeah, no, but
the Prime Minister's almost hinted at the fact that he knew something was going on.
Well,
but he needed his support in order to get into number 10.
I think that's all speculation. And the wonderful thing about the United Kingdom is that you are innocent until you're proven guilty. He's resigned from his post. There's investigations going on, and that's the right and proper thing to happen.
What do you think of him as a man? You obviously know him.
I actually don't know him quite well, although he did give me my first job. He was chief whip, and I was a whip, a very junior whip in his office. You know, he was a half-decent boss.
Even though he allegedly tells people to slit their throats and jump out of windows.
Yeah, I've never seen that behaviour in him, which is why I say you're innocent until you're proven guilty, and let the investigation take its place.
OK, and as far as Matt Hancock is concerned?
Yeah, well, he should be here with us, voting and debating in Parliament.
Did you watch him on the telly?
No, I'm afraid I don't watch it. Don't tell anybody.
Do you not watch it?
No.
Well, it's very good, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. But he did look a bit of a Burke yesterday, it has to be said. And
really?
It does look as though he's going to get a very hard time.
So I know the format of the show, and I do believe there's quite a lot of people in a building not too far away from here, the House of Commons and the House of Lords, who've downloaded a certain app so they can vote. I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a great story. Is that true?
Yeah, of course it is.
Wow, that's amazing. So you think that he should be here? You think it's totally inappropriate that an MP should be the other side of the world when such important...
I've read this morning what he said about how he wants to prove that all MPs are human, and that's actually, that is true. All MPs are human, but I think we do that every day in our constituencies and what we do in Parliament.
OK, you've got a cold like me, haven't you?
Yeah,
I wish you better.
Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated. Thank you.